I think that the environmental world lends itself naturally to being able to work with all kinds of people because it's the environment and there's not one person, not one business, not one anything that can separate itself from a care for the environment and the people and all the living species in it. So that's what I was trying to say.
Well, Rue, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to be chatting with you today. I'd love to just start our conversation for just saying, kind of tell us a little bit about what you were doing 10 years ago.
10 years ago, I was raising my three teen kids who were all in the house with me in Oakland and really feeling this calling on my heart to begin Outdoor Afro full time.
Great. So that's a nice segue in our second question, which is, what are you doing now? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm the founder still of Outdoor Afro, but I'm its acting CEO, and I've been doing that successfully since that time.
Great. And so maybe tell us a little bit about what's changed in your field, however you define that, kind of over the last decade or so.
In the beginning of Outdoor Afro, I think we were really trying to convince people that nature was a good thing. Nature was a place to go for their healing, for their connection, to be better stewards of the environment. Today, we don't have to have that conversation anymore. I think the question is now, how can we help people with their desire to connect with nature, especially in the last 2 years because of the pandemic?
Great. Yeah. So for the fourth question, kind of what is the one thing that you wish organizations in your field kind of did more of today at this moment in time?
For us, I think a lot about my own journey, and what makes me be effective at what I do is that I've had experience doing a lot of different things over time. And I think that sometimes we do education in a particular way and we work in a particular way for a particular outcome, but it's really like thinking about gumbo and like how many different flavors that go into that pot of gumbo. And so, I feel similarly that to have those outcomes of being just so soul satisfying in our work requires a lot of different elements coming together, blending together, and creating new meaning and maybe outcomes that might surprise us. So I just feel like we not only have, of course, what the environment teaches us about the resiliency of a diverse environment, but it also means that we have this greater possibility of creating, beauty and harmony and integration in ways that aren't possible if we just stay in our own bubble. And that could even be a professional bubble.
So that kind of leads into this fifth question, which is, what do you see as the biggest challenge in your field right now?
One big challenge is elevating leadership that looks more like America. I think sometimes it's about DEI, but often it's really about being more relevant. And I think those two things absolutely go hand in hand.
Great, thanks. So do you have advice, kind of very specific advice on what we can do, kind of action steps to help move us as a field in that direction?
We have to embrace a holistic approach to these challenges by bringing in people who are outside of our bubble. I think we could have gotten away in the past with only working with people in our field, but I think we should broaden the tent to include technology, the arts, policy, advocacy, and tell a new narrative about how those different fields and the people who lead them can work together.
Got it. Well, I know that in your journey as a leader, you've learned a lot, and I'm curious if there's one lesson that you wish that everyone in your field, would be able to embrace that maybe you've learned along the way.
Get comfortable with money. Money is energy. Money is it is the result of incredible relationships. It's the result of gratitude that you share in relationship with the people who partner with you to support your work. It starts with negotiating your salary to helping to ask for exactly what you need and celebrating every milestone that your organization achieves financially.
One of the words that you use a lot in conversation is joy. And I love the way you see that. And would you just mind talking about what that means for you professionally as well as personally, if you would be willing?
Yeah, I just feel like when we root ourselves in joy, like that is an open door invitation to everybody. I mean, who doesn't want to begin with joy? And in a world where people like to start with the problem statement, they want to lean in and have, energy around what's wrong or latch on to outrage, which I find is really accessible for folks these days. Joy is a break that I feel more and more people need now more than ever. But also joy is a journey, and joy is something actively pursued. And to
Wow.
center myself in joy in my work and professionally, it means that I have a more pleasurable experience and I can involve more people in it more easily, with that being our navigational north. I think there's a lot that's been said about the pain and the peril of the Black experience in this country, and it's no denying it. However, what do we do? Where do we go from there? And I think that today we have this opportunity to tell a new narrative around possibility that gets everybody involved and charged up and excited, and smiles appear on faces. And that's what I want to be a part of. That's what feeds my soul, but it also feeds the soul and the heart of Outdoor Afro.
Love to hear you just talk a little bit about what you think will be different in your field 10 years from now.
Yeah, I've always said that Outdoor Afro is really moving toward the ordinary. What's going to be different about our field is that we're going to look up one day and see people leading in the space of protecting the environment and people in the same conversation, and it not be separate and disparate ones. And I'm just really excited about being able to be outside and see that in the lived experience, and it's no big deal.
And I know I'm just going to ask you another one because I have a couple moments here. I know
Mhm.
that a lot of people look up to you as a leader, and that are earlier in their career. And I'm just curious, what advice that you have for younger or up and coming leaders, or maybe people that are transitioning their jobs. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, like I always remind people that Outdoor Afro is a 12-year overnight success, and that nothing happens at the speed of an Amazon Prime delivery, that it really will require you giving yourself completely over to all the parts of an organization, even the parts you might not be good at. And I think that one of the things that we don't recognize is that leadership is not innate. Like you're not born with being a leader. You develop it over time, and that development begins with self-awareness. And so I think everybody should take a careful inventory of who am I? What am I good at? What makes me pop up in the morning and gives me a sense of meaning at the end of my day? And in those areas where you may not be so good, don't judge yourself about it. Find the people who are good at those things, because leadership for me has been so much about finding those people and building a team so that together you're able to move a mission, you're able to move an organization or even a movement forward. We cannot do it alone. And we need our communities, but we also need to surround ourselves with the experience and the specific expertise to get our work done.
That's wonderful. Our last question then is probably our toughest, which is, what's a question, interesting question, that you have for others in your field that you don't have an answer to?
Yeah, I mean, seems like I've got an answer for everything. So that's a tough one, even if it's not the best answer. Um, I think that the biggest question out there is how can we repair and find connection and healing for a divided country? I think right now we have a new norm of division, And we've learned a lot of bad habits in the last 4 years. And I think we've got to all hold ourselves accountable to figuring out the way forward. But I think division and how do we repair that division is one of the most pressing questions of our time.